Welcome to my channel, and this video will be about my finished works in the books by Selina Fenech. Selina is one of my favorite artists, but we have complicated relationships with her books. It's like love and hate in the same time, because I'm totally in love with her drawings, with her line art, and with each new book I would say that she improves and improves. Her last book was amazing, and she also promised that in couple of weeks there will be another book, and pictures which she already demonstrated on her Facebook page, they are amazing. So I totally in love with her art, but I hate paper in her books. I think that after several finished pictures I managed to find a way how to color them, how to color on this paper, but still I do one or two pages and I feel tired, like I need a break from coloring on such thin paper. I know that I can purchase them in PDF and print by myself, but strange thing is that I really love how her books, how they look. I love the soft touch cover. I love these colorful designs on covers. So I really love to have her books, and that's why I still struggle with the paper. I have several of her books. Apart from these four where I have some colored works, I also have several which I hadn't started yet. I have goddesses, I have book about a mermaid, and I have enchanted book about fairies and unicorns. But today we will be talking about my colored pictures. I have just one mini book. First I thought that it can be cute to color her works in a smaller size, but now I think that with such kind of paper it's easier to color on bigger size, so probably I won't be purchasing small books anymore. But this is cute, and I definitely will be coloring it, especially during Halloween season, because it's about gothic and it's about witches, so probably that's why I purchased it. But for now I have only one finished page here, everything colored with polychromases and maybe just one or two Prismacolors. It wasn't easy to lay it flat to film, so it's a little bit problematic to film, to create videos for this book, but designs, they are really good. A lot of beautiful ladies, a lot of Halloween pictures, but also unicorns, some knights, beautiful owls and dragons, so many things which I do love. I just need to find the way how to lay it flat for the next time. Another book where I have at least one finished page is this Victorian romance. You probably know that this book has illustrations to the novel which was created by Selina. She is not only an artist, but she is also a writer, and she already published several books. And one of them is The Memory Wake, I believe the name. I hadn't read it, so it was a little bit difficult for me in the very beginning to understand all the details which we have here, and I mostly purchased it because it has beautiful ladies, beautiful dresses, but also men characters. We have a lot of female characters in our books, but it's rare to have nice portraits of men. Probably that's why I had purchased it. But you know that I love to learn to study what I am coloring, so I went to Selina's group, to Selina's website, and she provided a brief description of the main characters from her series, and now I know a little bit more about all four main characters, so it will be easier for me to color. I definitely have to return to this book, but for now I did just one page here. Again, I enjoyed immensely doing the main image. I really worked hard on this play of light and shadow on the dress. I really love the lady and the man, and I struggled to fill in big background. Usual thing for this paper and usual thing for these books. But I do love this page. And when I look at it, I definitely want to start something else from this book. Next two books are definitely one of the most popular on my channel. I did a lot of pictures here. Probably let's start from Australian animals. I just published a couple of videos of my recent works here, but I want to show you my progress here because I finished already more than half of pictures. I was very happy when Selina sent me this book for presenting you, and I really love the idea behind this book. It was inspired by the idea of Selina's daughter to give part of the income from selling this book to save Australian animals, especially after all those terrible fires. And I was very proud to have it, and I am very happy to color it. Well, I was a little bit afraid to start from more complicated animals, so they are waiting for me, especially all these cute wombats. I do love them, I do love quokkas, but I started from more simplified images. For now, I have colored koala. Here the most difficult part again was the background, and I simply copied the idea of Selina from the cover. As I said, I am totally in love with all covers of Selina's books. All these pictures I published on my channel, so if you're interested, I have a playlist with all my works in Selina Fenech books. Here I have echidna, and again the background was challenging. But recently I realized that if I would limit amount of the background by creating artificial frames, it will be easier. Here I am proud that I added one orchid from myself because it had a couple of these two orchids, and I wanted another one to support this very intense color also in the left upper corner, so this one I added myself. And echidna, it was so fun to color. In the beginning I was afraid how to color all these needles, but surprisingly Black Widow pencils from their set of for coloring dark skin and also Darren drawing pencils, they all are very helpful and for fur, for needles, for various textures on the animal's body, for feathers, so they helped me to create this very cute animal. Every time when I start to color something in this book, I try to find reference pictures, I try to read about plants, about flowers, about birds or animals, so it really helped me to know better, to know a little bit more about Australian nature, about Australian plants and animals, and I think that it's really good. I wouldn't mind to have similar books about African plants and animals, or from maybe South America, another very interesting region with quite unique nature, so I think that it's a very good idea. Some of these images I really love. I enjoyed doing this bee. Not so proud of the background where for the first time I tried alcohol-based markers, but at least they helped me to do this background quite quickly. This one probably is one of the backgrounds where I hadn't struggled a lot. I simply draw this inner round frame, and it was really very helpful for creating background. I don't like to leave background white and empty, but I also don't like to spend my time on doing background on this paper, so that's my problem. It's one of my favorite pictures here because I was so surprised to discover all those varieties of cockatoo that indeed they can be black with huge amount of dots. They look majestic in real life. And also the second variety of our feathers indeed are white, cream and pink. Very unusual, so I'm very grateful to this book that I discovered these facts for myself. Another page where I added the circle as a background, and here I really enjoyed doing all these tiny feathers on the body. For me it's really very helpful book. I think that doing page after page I learned a lot about how to do feathers, bigger feathers, smaller feathers, how to do fur, which pencils I can use for different kinds of fur, for different colors of fur. Background is always my weak side here because when I color the main image I enjoy, but when I do the background, I don't like backgrounds with soft pastel like I have here, but I don't have patience to do it with pencils because they cover paper not very nice. Here I remember that I spent huge amount of time covering the whole background with pencils, and I told myself like never again. But it was worth it because here we have nighttime animals, and these babies, they are very cute, and I wanted to have dark, intense blue background behind them. They look nice on it, but it wasn't easy to achieve. Here are one of the simplest backgrounds, but I think that it suits the idea of this page. And here I am quite proud of the tail of the animals that I managed to show different lengths of the hairs on the fur. It was interesting to study first and then to show it on the paper. It was my first project in this book. Here I even used Derwent color softs, and surprisingly they weren't that bad. Now when I remembered about it, maybe I need to use more of Derwent color softs for this paper. For now, I discovered that for me the best pencils for this thin paper in all the books by Selina, it's Polychroma's my choice number 1, and next are Tisa pencils. I also even use soft pastels for the background, not my usual choice for other books, but here soft pastel is still helpful. Here around the sugar glider I used a little bit of acrylic gouache. Not so good because paper buckled because of the scene, but it helped to create a pastel background quite quickly, definitely better comparing to what I can achieve with pencils. Here I mixed Polychroma's and Prismacolors because when I need to do longer fur I always prefer to use first Prismacolors to put main colors to the body, and then with harder pencils like Black Widow or Polychroma's I can draw texture, individual hairs, and for me it works better. Here on flowers I tested my Star Joy pencils and they behaved terribly here, so Star Joy I won't be using anymore. They behaved nicely in my other books, but definitely not on this paper. And my recent two works, you can see that in the end here I have almost all pictures completed. So maybe I just will be moving from the back of the book to the first part, and in such way I will finish it. And I counted, I think that I finished more than half of the pictures here, but I finished simply more simple pictures for me, like all these frogs, iguana or birds. They are easier to color comparing to what I have remind, like this one or this one. So I need to find some strength to struggle on this paper again, but I promise that one day I will finish this book. am quite proud of my work here, but even more than Australian animals, I love my fairy tales book. I always say that I love in Selina Fenech pictures beauty of her faces of the characters, but also composition of her works. And I would say that here all pictures they have perfect composition. Here we don't have empty backgrounds like we have in Australian animals, so it's much easier to color. Yeah, problem with paper, it still stands, but when you don't need to fill empty background, it's easier to work. On these pictures, I mix Prismacolors and polychromoses. Again, for the backgrounds, it's easier to work with Prismacolors, it's quicker, but for details on this paper, it's better to use polychromoses. This book I also plan to finish one day. Here I have several of pictures which I'm really quite proud of. I do love this mermaid. I do love that they are very detailed, but they don't have any excessive elements which would distract me, so perfect pictures, everything apart from paper. Here it was interesting to work with this fireplace as a source of light to show highlights on the bodies of girls and on the fur of the bear. So very instructive, and I learned a lot from this coloring. I still like it. When I got this book, I thought that the Snow Queen will be one of the first pictures which I would color, and I put it on my Christmas plans already for 2 years, and it's still clean. Yeah, definitely one of my most favorite pictures I have in this book. Recently I started to experiment with adding another pencils here, and for this page I also used color softs and Derwent drawings, and they were good, so maybe Derwent pencils, which are sadly abandoned in my stash comparing to Prismacolors and polychromoses, maybe I have to use them more, especially for the backgrounds. Here I used them for the column, for parts of the curtains. For the dress, if I remember correctly, I used Arteza. So this one is a mix of pencils. This one was a little bit boring to do, but I'm glad that I selected unusual colors for all the layers on the bed, and that among all these colors I managed not to lose the P, and that it's still visible. My girl, she looks extremely pissed, and I love her face here. It's very funny. It was one of my first works here. From the very beginning I knew that I wanted to give her this bright green dress, maybe inspired by Greensleeves song, and I think that here I even managed to use some neocolor crayons probably for the leaves, but I try to limit amount of water-based mediums here. Definitely you can use them and you can iron page after, but still you have to limit yourself mostly with pencils. I remember that I did this page after I got Arteza pencils, so it was mix of Arteza and pastel colors of Prismacolors, and it was probably just one fairy tale which I wasn't aware of, so I had to Google it and to read. I don't know why, but in my childhood I wasn't familiar with the story of East of the Sun and West of the Moon. I think that another one of my challenges here is to give all of the girls different colors of their dresses, and for now I already have uh, magenta violet, I have red, I have green, I have blue, so it's really interesting to select color for each of the next dresses. Aladdin, it was good, and I even managed to use new colors again for the background, then a little bit of gouache to mask black lines and to create more realistic smoke from the lamp. But then I ruined everything when I colored his face. It looked extremely dirty, again because of the paper. It wasn't easy to do layering, to do shading and pigment from his black hair, which I did first. I smudged it a little bit, so now he looks like he is dirty. But other details I do love. And I also remember that I did it after I got artisans, and they were quite good for these colors of the sand. I started to learn my favorite color combos of artisan doing this part of the page. This one I did mostly with with polychromoses for the dresses, Prismacolors only for the some parts on the grass, I believe, and maybe here for the background. And again, mostly I love all these pages where I can play with lights, highlights, light reflections and shadow, where I have some darker areas and a strong source of light like we have here. I really love such pages, and that's why I really enjoyed doing this page. And again, faces, they are really all quite beautiful. They don't require quite complicated shading. I'm not strong at doing very realistic portraits with many layers, complicated shading, but here faces are not big, and for me they are not a big problem even on such paper. Another one page, one of my first, but here the idea was slightly lost because I started to color with polychromoses and something went wrong on the background. Everything looked too dark, too dirty. I wanted to add those eyes like appearing from this dangerous red background, but they were slightly lost because I struggled with covering background to cover all white spots. Then I switched to Prismacolors and the house, and the rest of the background I did with Prismacolors, and I think that the gingerbread house looks quite yummy. I remember that this one was relatively easy, a lot of polychromoses for various green colors, and I enjoyed doing this ginger fur on the cat. Only for the sky I used Prismacolors with their pastel colors, so this one is one of the best, or at least one of the easiest for me in this book. This one I love because of the background. I'm glad that I selected this unusual idea, a very strong contrast between a white background behind the man and then nice color gradient through the yellow to orange and even brick red to the edges of the page. I think that it added something interesting to this page, and again it's all because compositions of Selina pages, they are really nice. That's all. Well, I can say that I colored a lot in Selina's books, but definitely she's one of my favorite artists, and I probably made this video for myself to remind myself that I still have 4 her untouched books and that I need to intensify my coloring, especially with this news that soon it will be next amazing book. And of course I plan to purchase it. I don't know yet as a PDF, or maybe again I will purchase it in paper and I will be mourning and crying about paper, but that's me. Thank you for watching, and again I have all my colorings from Selina Fenech book gathered in one playlist, and I'll leave you a link to this playlist in the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and until the next videos.